If Fox News lets me on the stage for the debate, I will win the election.
The thoroughly enjoyable to listen to RFK Jr. has attempted to join the Kamala Harris campaign. So, this is such a bizarre story because in what world would Kamala Harris want to take an RFK Jr. endorsement? Not to mention in exchange to actually give him something. What? Are you stupid? The answer is yes. So here is the recent news. So RFK Jr., the independent presidential candidate whose standing has dropped in the polls, I'll get to that later, sought a meeting with Vice President Kamala Harris to discuss endorsing her in exchange for a promise of a cabinet post, according to two people briefed on the outreach who insisted on anonymity to discuss the private conversations. His effort has been unsuccessful, obviously. The news was first reported by the Washington Post. Quote, "We've reached out repeatedly through the highest level intermediaries," Mr. Kennedy wrote in a text message on Wednesday night. Quote, "We've been told that they have no interest in talking with me." Now, I wonder why. So even apart from just RFK Jr. generally, a lot has occurred over the past several weeks here. So in the past 6 weeks, Kennedy has apologized for an alleged sexual assault, has been forced to explain why he staged the death of a bear cub in New York City's Central Park, and has had to deny eating a dog. Yes, Kamala Harris is seeking the eating a dog endorsement. The very important eating a dog, hiding a bear cub in Central Park endorsement. This is the way to win the presidency. So, as Aaron Blake here, who I believe is the Washington Post, let me just confirm that. Yes, the Washington Post senior political reporter. As he writes here, Washington Post reports RFK Jr. sought meeting with Harris to cut a deal to drop. I said that already. Worth noting, she has little reason to want him out. He's hurting Trump more now. So he draws about twice as many right-leaning / Trump leaners as left-leaning Harris leaners. So check this out. Trump losing ground when polls include third-party candidates. So Trump drops by 2 in every scenario here, or I should say in every poll. He drops when they include third-party candidates. The Washington Post, or I should say the New York Times here, goes on to say, on Wednesday night, Mr. Kennedy wrote, quote, "I've always argued that we should be willing to talk with each other across party lines. I'm willing to meet with leaders of both parties to discuss the possibility of a unity government." This is a guy who is simply out for himself. Now, look, he has, I won't say to his credit because he isn't the only person saying this, or isn't the first person to say this, but there are correct critiques of the system. Obviously, this first past the post system, that is a two-party system, there are a lot of structural critiques of the system that RFK is correct about. But this is a vanity run. I mean, we'll get to it in a second here. He tried to get a meeting with, or he got a meeting with Trump, but tried to get a position in his government when it looked like Trump was going to win. Now that it looks like Kamala Harris is going to win, he's trying to see what he can get from Kamala Harris. It's so blatant. So on Thursday, and this after he wrote this, and I guess got a lot of backlash from his fans because his fans are largely right leaning. On Thursday, however, he wrote a long post on social media attacking Harris and dismissing the idea that he would endorse her. Quote, "I have no plans to endorse Kamala Harris for president. I do have a plan to defeat her." Come on. You're not defeating her. What are we doing? This is so stupid. Earlier in the year, Kennedy was polling at around 10% nationally, but has dropped to 5% over the past few months. Kamala Harris entering the race, replacing Joe Biden, has completely eliminated one of Kennedy's big talking points about the race. How, we shouldn't go with these two old people. We gotta get some new blood in there. Well, now you've dropped, bro. You're polling worse now. So while you still have there's still, again, a correct critique of the system, you are not the right person to make that critique. And you are only losing support now. Kennedy has lost. So the Democratic leaning vote that Kennedy did have when Biden was in has now coalesced around Kamala Harris. Because again, the dissatisfaction was with Joe Biden and his age, mostly about his age, but also about, of course, his position on Israel as well, or with Israel. So now that he's been replaced, a lot of that support has simply gone back to where it was going to go had it not been Biden on the ticket. Now it's Harris. It's gone with her. It's wild to see how this guy is trying to utilize what little power he has to try and get a position for himself. So I'm not going to this call. So this is the call between him and Trump. It is so rambling and stupid. Like this is a lot of the text from it. It is just like Trump talking about vaccines. I don't know. It's so hard to listen to. But this is the part that is important. Trump says, anyway, I would love you to do something, and I think it would be so good for you and so big for you. So apparently, two people familiar with Mr. Kennedy's campaign confirmed that advisors to Mr. Trump had raised the possibility of a cabinet post with people close to Mr. Kennedy, but said the discussions were fluid and inconclusive. Because it is Donald Trump, you cannot possibly trust Trump to give you anything. So at some point, it's possible RFK drops out and backs Trump because there's some kind of promise that he's going to get something. But Trump is not somebody that cares about keeping promises. So it would be a complete gamble for Kennedy to actually do that. It's also a gamble for him to continue on if he's getting nothing out of this. So he may just drop out because it's kind of a waste of time. But he appears very confident in his ability here. So this is him on Sean Hannity.
Are you in this to the end? Are you in this till Election Day?
Yes.
Okay. Next time we have you back,
and
I want to ask you about...
if Fox News lets me on the stage for the debate, I will win the election.
If Fox News lets you on they like every media group, you
on
have
the
to show
stage for the debate.
I don't know. I don't make up the rules, but there are rules. You have to show X amount of percentage of.
Well, Sean, they're making up rules. They're making up rules. If we had the presidential debating committee, I would be on the stage.
Are you
okay? First off, again, let me acknowledge. Yes, there is a problem with the system. Yes, as much as I don't like RFK, I think there should be more people on these stages in a debate because just for the simple fact that there should be more voices out there diversifying the conversation around political issues. Not that RFK does that all that much. He does it in the wrong direction. But regardless, there should be more voices out there on a stage in these debates. That said, the idea that if RFK were on a debate stage, on, I guess, Fox News in this case, that he would win the election based on a debate is completely insane, completely ahistorical, makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, is obvious bullshit, and is a waste of everyone's time. So Sean Hannity here clearly is trying to push RFK out of the race. Are you really going to continue this race? Are you really going to stay in this race? He doesn't want RFK in this because he's currently hurting Trump. To be honest, I'm not even sure why Hannity's having RFK on. I don't think it's helping Trump by continuing to give a voice to Kennedy. Again, not saying Kennedy should be silenced out of media. I don't want to hear from RFK, but when it comes to having more voices on television, I think it's important to have differing voices and voices that challenge the two-party system. But bringing RFK on when clearly Hannity wants RFK to be out of the race is not helping his agenda. But it's just such a bizarre fight. I mean, you have there are two other third-party candidates, at least two other. I think there's a third one. I believe the Libertarian as well. But I know of, Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate. Then you have Cornel West running as an independent. Like, I'd rather hear from them than RFK. Again, not that especially when it comes to Jill Stein, I don't really care for the Green Party strategy of not doing anything until it's time for the presidential election. But they have ideas that are worth discussing on television, ones that don't often get discussed, that are worth discussing. RFK doesn't really have a whole lot to offer any conversation. But he's in here trying to do what he can for himself. I don't know where this is all going to go. Regardless if he stays in or leaves, I still think the advantage right now is with Harris. Again, the election is not over. People actually have to vote. But the way the momentum is moving right now, the way things are going, the way these states are clearly moving towards Kamala Harris and how she's coalescing the vote that at the very least Joe Biden had in 2020, and I think possibly growing that vote larger when it comes to especially young voters. The way it's moving is still the advantage is still with Kamala Harris. But RFK trying to get something out of this, out of the momentum that Harris has, is so weird when he this entire time has been focusing most of his attacks on the Democratic Party. It clearly showcases that he is, out for himself. Not that he's the only person, only politician that does that. Of course not. One of many doing that. But when you have somebody who is trying to challenge the system for their clear intent to be just about themselves, are you really at that point challenging the system, or are you just trying to be a part of it?